start off with a hula hoop, but I'm using a quoit to demonstrate the wrapping technique. I start off with a roll of mesh material. This is burlap, also known as hessian. I wrap it around once, and then when I go to do the second wrap around, I tuck the ends in underneath it, as you can see here. Then I just keep going and going until I get to a point where I feel I need to start tying some string around to secure it. So then I tie the string around, starting at the start of the roll, and then I do more ties wherever it needs to be until we're finished wrapping the burlap around and it's all nice and secure. Now that's complete, we're ready to attach the flowers to the hoop. So I have some plastic flowers with a wire stem, and they're easy for weaving in and out of the mesh. You can use dried flowers, it's just a little bit harder. And as you can see here, I am securing it with some string as I go. Just keep weaving it in and out, and you can see here the rope that I've used to attach the burlap roll to the hoop is also good for helping to secure the stem a bit more. You can see there it is, all weave it out, in and out, and you've got string there holding onto the stem. This is a completed chandelier. This doesn't have the candles on it, it's just the lights. And here's another one. This is the one we're going to decorate with the candles. So you can see here that there's lots of knots tied around this hula hoop holding the dried flowers on. So there's lots of leaves, skinnier stems that are woven through, but also the thicker stems must be tied in. And these are going to be the basis for the candles. So what we need to do is find the center of it and make a hole. So you can use a hole punch, or you could use a nail. I've screwed that in, that's nice and secure now, and then I'm going to make sure that I space the other three apart equally. So I'm measuring across the hoop at the longest point, and then I know that that's where it needs to go. It's important to be as accurate as you can be, because otherwise when you hang it, it will be out of balance. The widest point here measures at 54 centimetres, so it should be the same when I measure across for the other points that we need to screw in. So the second candle base is being attached now, and when that's done you do the same for the other sides. So here's the 4 candle bases in place. I'm just going to double check to make sure that they're all in the right place, because you don't want to have to try and move them again later. Basically what I wanted was I wanted a certain sized candle and a certain width. So the width, of course, so that it will fit within the plate, and the height so that it will be visible to people coming to the Halloween. And also they need to sit flat as possible on top of the hoop. This one was a bit wobbly, so I used some string to try and secure it and make it a bit tighter. Probably another way of fixing that will be to use a thicker screw so that it doesn't wobble so much once it's screwed in. So we need to be able to attach the candle to the candle base so it's not going to fall off on people that are coming to visit. You can see here that there's a little metal part at the base. We need to get that out so that we can set it on top of the screw. So it's pretty easy. I picked that one out with my fingernail, or you could use a little, like a blunt knife or something, or screwdriver to just flick it out. And you can see here how it's meant to fit onto the base. Also want to mention, I should have just left it at the 1, but I wanted my candles to be a certain height and width. And when I went shopping on this particular day, I couldn't find what I wanted, so I decided I was going to join 2 together. It's not a hard thing to do, but you just want to make sure you don't burn yourself. You melt the undersurface of the candle until you get it to a melted enough point where you can just press them together and make one tall candle. And underneath the base, you just make a little hole there. That's where it's going to sit on the screw. And you can take some of the wax and just put it around the screw, because what you're going to do next is you're going to take a flame and you're going to soften all of that area underneath the candle and then place it over the top of the screw. It would have been better if, instead of putting the candle on the base at this point that we started off on the bench, you can see here that I removed it because the next step requires that we burn the candle and soften the wax at the top so that we can eventually place a tea light container in there. That will help to make some space for the battery tea light that will be placed in it later. So here we have the 2 candles stuck together. I've been melting the wax for a while, and I'm also cleaning off some of that soot that's around the outside with just a fingernail. And once that wax has melted enough, I'll be able to easily dig it out, just widen it a little bit and fit a tea light into it, a battery run one. Be careful not to burn yourself doing this. It should make like little rivulets of the wax pouring down the side of the candle to make it look a little bit more realistic and like it's being used. If you have trouble digging that out, you can just flick it out with a knife. Once you've got all the candles secured and you've got the space made for the tea lights, you need to work out whether you're going to have a chain or a rope to hang the chandelier with. I like the chain look, So I had a bit of trouble finding hanging basket chains that had 4 chains. Ideally that's what you're going to look for, but I had to buy 2 packets with 3 chains each. I needed to widen the hook of both hanging basket chains and remove at least 1 chain and add it to the one that has the 3 chains. So you wind up with 4 chains on one hook, and then I just squeezed the hook back together with a pair of pliers. Here I'm about to add some rope in between the candles so that I've got something to hook the chain into. Now I could have done this a little bit differently. Just came to mind, I could have simply wrapped the base of the chain around it and hooked the chain back into itself, but that would have shortened the length of it, so it wouldn't have been ideal, but it is an option. If you've got a longer chain, that would be great. It is ready to hang and decorate a bit more. I've got some fern here from the garden and I'm just pulling the leaves off to make an easy stem to weave through the other foliage that's already in there and the rope. And I just keep going around and around like that until I like the look of it. That stem was really easy to weave in there. Any bits sticking out I just trim off. There you can see the hook at the base of the hanging chain, how it just clips around the rope that's tied around the hoop. So it's just about ready to hang. So basically this is what the candle looks like. You want to make sure that the tea lights are working on the day. When I'm finished with my batteries, I always make sure they go back into the original packet and I sticky tape them back in and put them out of the way of little fingers, little children. So it's easy to set them up. You just pop the battery in, screw it back in, and that way it's safe. All tested so you know it's working. And in addition to those, I've put some battery run fairy lights on, just a short strand. These are purple ones. You'll see, you also want to make sure they're tested before you put them on. Here's some ties that I use to attach the lights to the base of the hanging chains. You need to start with the very end of the lights. Don't start with the battery end because that needs to be hanging up the top near the hook when you're finished. So I'll try to keep the loops of the fairy lights as even as possible. And now that I've finished looping those around, it's time to wrap them around the chains on the way to the top of the hook, as you can see there. And then once you've finished securing the last light to the top, then you can put the battery pack up there. So I'm using black electrical tape because it's the same colour as the battery pack, and I'm just going to attach that to the hook. I've also got to make sure that I leave the switch available to flick on and off once it's up there, so that has to be exposed. And when you're ready, you take the tea lights, you turn them on and pop them on top. How easy is that? With the chandelier completed now, all you need to do is decorate it. That's the fun part. So you find something spooky like some fake spider web and you try to tease it out as much as you can and just drape it over the plants. Then you might like to add a few spiders or something else you can think of that might make it look a bit spookier. So there we have it, a nice spooky Halloween chandelier. Thanks for visiting and have a very happy Halloween.